Hello, how are
you? So good to be here. I'm excited to be here and talk about some Magic. Theros Beyond Death just hit.
Yes.
And not to distract too much, but today we also previewed all of Unsanctioned.
We saw that.
Check those out.
Yep. I'm a big fan of Clamilton.
Oh, Alexander Clamilton is that is the card that made me smile the most. In fact, my saddest thing about that card is we had to cut the flavor text on Alexander Clamilton, and it was who lives, who dies, who shells your story, which is so good.
All right.
But you know what? It's still a gorgeous Magic card. So if you haven't checked that out, go look on the internet. The whole card list is out. That comes, of course, February 28th, I believe, at the very end of the month. So 29th, of course, leap year. Yeah, makes sense. So go in and check that out. It's a blast. Not here what we're here to talk about today, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to, of course, answer that too. So
let's take just a few minutes. We can chat about Theros.
Yeah, let's absolutely do it.
What did you do for Theros?
What did I do for Theros? So,
or what didn't you do for Theros? I guess might be a better question.
So a really funny thing to me is, first, the funniest part is when we take a swig of water.
That's classic.
So refreshing. So I've been at Wizards for over 8 years now. And one of the really interesting things that started to happen is the sets that we did the first time I was here, we're now going back and revisiting.
Yeah.
Right? So, for example, the first set I worked on was Return to Ravnica, which, of course, was a big hit. And we came back and did Guilds of Ravnica and Ravnica Legions and War of the Spark pretty recently. And so it was kind of fun to revisit those. And that means that the second block that I really worked on was Theros block. And so seeing how we did it the first time and then tackling it with Theros Beyond Death was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to hit a block a second time, and also really challenging. Because on one hand, we know what worked the first time, and we can kind of hit those notes again. And we know about all the mistakes we made the first time. We can try and avoid them again.
Yeah.
On the flip side, we have to make it new. We can't just do the same exact thing one more time. So, some examples of that might be the first time around, we knew that players love the gods. Let's lean into gods a little more. We see that here, including making that great showcase treatment on the gods, right, with the constellation frames. We saw that players really like devotion, so we brought that back again, including a reprint like Grey Merchant of Asphodel, which Gary back. Yeah. I'm so glad to have him with us again. Yeah. And we also learned some things. For example, in Limited, Theros was really snowbally the first time, where you might layer a bunch of enchantments on something and it would get out of hand really quickly. For example, the Ordeal cycle at Uncommon made it really easy to just attack and kind of take over a game super fast. So we knew we wanted to avoid that this time around. And then with addressing some of the new stuff, we had to find new wrinkles on things. And that's where things like demigods came into play. Yeah. That's where something like Escape happened. What could be different this time? Well, let's focus on the underworld. Let's do some graveyard thematics. Yeah. And that really makes that feel a lot different. So when you play Theros Beyond Death, it both feels like Theros. You feel like, this is the Theros I know and love. But it also feels very different, right? It almost has a little bit of like Innistrad in there, right, where you're using the graveyard as a resource, where you're doing some different stuff this time around, and I really appreciate that texture, that it feels so different. You're not using Bestow. There's a different feel to what's happening, and to me, this is a real slam dunk of a hit, but right in the middle of where we want to be between too nostalgic and not leaning the old stuff enough, and or too much of the old stuff. It's a great spot in the middle to me.
Yeah. I will say that it really feels like y'all did a great job of serving us returning players, those enfranchised players that loved Theros. That's when I got back into Magic, this most recent time I got back into Magic. But also creating some new stuff that pushes the format, introduces some cool new things to our new players, and it's cool.
Yeah, and I mean, just to see, also just from a game design perspective, seeing how we've evolved our processes over the past 7 years or so is really cool. And so we're able to make a set that I think I actually enjoyed original Theros Limited a decent amount. It wasn't like my favorite of all time or anything, but it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But we were able to take those learnings and take what we've learned since to release a set now with Theros Beyond Death, which many players are calling one of the best limited sets in recent memory, which is awesome because I feel like we just came off of a year of pretty fun limited sets.
Oh,
so
definitely.
The pros are loving it. People are playing it on Arena a bunch, or playing it in person a bunch. I'm sure over at Card Kingdom, you're getting a pretty good turnout for everything.
Yeah.
Pre-releases going gangbusters. So I'm.
I thought you just meant in the office. Like we didn't get any work done today. Packs out everywhere.
I think a lot of it has to do with that escape mechanic too, where it really makes sure that the end games that you play, you always have something to do, right? You're playing, and then you're like, okay, well I've got no cards in my hand, I drew a land, but I can bring something out of my graveyard again, and you get to kind of grind it out a little bit, which is fun.
Yeah, anyway. Get some extra options there. Chat, if you have any questions for Gavin, feel free to toss those into the chat. We'll kind of touch on some of that too if you have anything specific that you want to kind of ask him about. So you talked about the design process. I learned that Calyx is a card. So it's the Planeswalker card, the green-white card. I think this is the first time that's happened where it was kind of designed by a couple different teams. So it's designed by both the franchise team and also the world building team. Has that happened before? Is that something that was different? Did that kind of inspire you on the design side to have a little bit more fun? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, one of the great things about, as we grow and continue to break off into more pieces and we get to work together is we've got a bunch of different teams now at Wizards, right? And speaking of the difference, when we made Theros all those years ago, we kind of just had one team working on it, right? We had the creative team at the time. But now we also have this franchise team, and the franchise team's goal is to help manage our planeswalkers, and they work a lot with our external properties. Like they're helping to work on the Netflix show, and they're helping to work on all the other things that we want to do with Magic. The upcoming MMO action RPG, for example, right? Yeah. They're doing a lot of work there. And so when creating Planeswalkers, Planeswalkers are the core of our game's identity, right? Yeah. In the sense of, not the gameplay. Of course you play plenty of games without Planeswalkers, but in the storytelling, in the world, like Planeswalkers are really important. And so our team, the world building team, worked with the franchise team to help create our Planeswalkers, not only with Calyx, but with many going forward. I can't say definitively that Calyx is the first, because I'm not in all of those meetings, but it definitely was one where that came up, and they were able to work together to come up with this cool character. I know originally we talked about using Estrid, who showed up in Commander 2018, but really wanted someone new for this role, and so we ended up going with Calyx for it. And you get that kind of cool card, and he's got a really unique story too, so I'm glad to really get that in the set.
Yeah. So, not even arguably, players love gods. I think that's the favorite thing for Theros for a lot of people. I remember, working in Mock's boarding house. So I was a server at that point. Somebody opened a pack, and it was one of the god packs, and it had all 15 gods and just the whole place was nuts.
I remember when we were talking about doing that, we're like, someone's going to do this, and they'll go nuts, and there we are. Right?
Yeah. But do you have a favorite god out of the whole pantheon of past and present gods?
My favorite to play with is Thassa. A, I'm a blue player, but B, I love playing Mono Blue Devotion the first time around, so that was a really cool aggressive card. And actually, the first time we were working on Theros, I was really deep in the playtesting trenches, and a deck that I played was Mono Blue Devotion. And I had a bunch of builds, and I loved it, and I got pretty close, actually, to what people ended up playing when the Pro Tour came around.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of cards made worse. Master of Waves, the original Master of Waves, had 2 blue mana symbols in it instead of 1. So when you played, it would activate itself twice, which was absolutely ridiculous, by the way. But I also love the new Thassa because I love blinking things, and the fact you get to blink every single turn. Conjurer's Closet is a card that you play with in Commander a lot anyway, right? And
all my Commander decks are always like lean into the blink.
Yeah, so it's a blast. I really like Thassa. My favorite though, from a story perspective, is Heliod. And the reason why is it's very rare for Magic to have like a white aligned villain. Yeah. And so to get that in a pretty compelling package, right? Yeah. Someone who is, white aligned, doing what they believe is right, but ends up killing Elspeth along the way and being a villain. Not spoilers, by the way, sorry. But spoilers.
It sets out, it's okay.
Spoilers from a set from many years ago, right? Yeah. But I think that's really cool, and you seldom see that. In the same way that when we did Kamigawa block, you had Umezawa as a black aligned hero. It's really cool to see that kind of twist on what you expect.
Yeah, kind of turn it on its head.
Yeah, it's a great reminder to me that there's like this color pie, and it's not always as simple as white good, black bad, right? There's a lot of delineation between the two, and I think that makes really compelling characters.
Yeah.
I'll say with gods in particular, it was really interesting because, so we did Theros the first time, and we had to come up with gods. And we went through so many iterations. It's like, we knew we had to nail them. We knew they were going to be a part of the block. We knew we had to get them right. And we had all kinds of versions. I remember one in particular, we made a whole zone called the Nyx zone. And when you played a god, it would go over into the Nyx zone. And then at some point later, it would do something. We tried all this stuff, and we ended up with the version you guys see now.
Yeah.
Then, when we did Amonkhet, we're like, okay, Egypt also needs gods. We should come up with additional gods. And we're like, okay, how can these gods be different from the Theros gods? What should we carry across, etc.? So then when we went back to Theros, it was actually a twist on the Amonkhet question, which was, we're going back and doing gods again. What should we keep and what can we change, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of decided, and I saw a question in the chat here actually a little bit earlier about why didn't we do more gods? And simply, it was, we knew we wanted to show off the gods again. We knew we wanted them to be indestructible and be enchantments and have cool abilities, have the devotion mechanic returning. But doing all of them, all 14 or 15 gods, would have been a lot, right? That's basically all your mythics for the set. There's not a lot of room for that.
Yeah.
So we decided to really hone down to just the 5 main gods that you see here, but still give you those demigods at uncommon for a little bit of extra flavor.
Cool.
But they're a huge part of the set, and whenever you open one up, you always get excited. So
I just want to go to the Knicks zone now. Now that you said that it almost existed, I want someone to open a bar called the Knicks zone.
The Knicks zone? Nice. Yeah, I think the way it worked, if I remember right, is you played a Knicks zone card, and it would go into the Knicks zone, and then from the Knicks zone, it would have like some ability that happened every now and then, right? Like,
okay.
And then eventually, after some number of turns, you'd be able to play it. Sort of like a suspend enchantment hybrid.
Okay. Almost like adventure a little bit too,
Yeah.
where you get like some piece out of it, and then you can still get it out later.
Actually, the way they ended up turning out is not that dissimilar from like a Knicks zone thing, because it's like they come out and they hang out and do their thing, and then later come out and do a thing, right? You're still getting that feeling. But Knicks zone didn't quite make it. Although now, man, Mystery Booster 2 someday. I'll keep that in mind for a wacky playtest
the
card.
Knicks zone. Just a land called the Knicks zone.
Yeah, perfect.
So I saw one question that I want to touch on. Chris, if you see any great questions there, feel free to kind of shout them out in a second. Let's see. Are there plans for more of the Brawl decks with each set, or are those going to be kind of just random?
We tried them out for Eldraine, and we really didn't know how they were going to do. Turns out they were a pretty big hit. I mean, they sold through, I think you guys probably got rid of all of yours pretty easily, right?
We could not keep enough of them in stock.
Absolutely. So they were a big hit. With that said, so we could certainly do them in the future. With that said, really, we're kind of looking at this year as the year of Commander, right? We're really amping up our Commander support. We're doing Commander with Ikoria. We're doing Commander with Zendikar later this year. We've got Commander Legends. So we're leaning super hard into Commander. And now that we're aligning Commander decks with some of the main sets, like we're doing with Ikoria and Zendikar, we want to see how that goes. Yeah. And if that's really successful, let's keep doing it.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible to see more, but for this year, we're really going to focus on Commander.
Nice. Well, as a Commander player, I'm on board.
Yeah,
Let's do this.
Man, doing that video at the end of last year, talking about this year of Commander, I was so excited because I've had to hold all this in for so long.
Yeah.
Especially Commander Legends, which is a set. It's like Commander Legends is like my baby. By the time it comes out, it'll have been 6 years since I started working on the set.
Oh, wow.
It's not even my baby. It's like my full-grown adolescent.
That's a kindergartner at this point. Yeah.
So
first grade? I don't know.
At some other point, maybe closer, I'd be happy to come on and talk to you all about Commander Legends, because I am so proud of that set, and I think you all will love it.
Yeah.
The push for Commander, by the way, is also part of the reason why you see things like the demigods in Theros Beyond Death.
Yeah.
Just more legends to play with. And you're going to see a ton of legends in sets this year because they're fun. You have to build new Commander decks around them. So
and it gives you more options for Brawl decks too. So if you are playing in that Brawl, when Brawl first came out and we were heading into Dominaria and we had all those legends, it just felt like such a natural moment for that to happen, because you have this wide selection. But then there was this fear, at least in the community I'm in, that, well, what happens when Dominaria rotates? We're out of all these legendary creatures. And I'm so excited that over the last 4 or 5 sets since then, we're just seeing so many more legendary creatures, because those are creatures that tell a little bit more of a story. They're singular. It's not just like, oh yeah, that Minotaur. It's like, no, this is the Minotaur.
Right.
So I'm really happy to see that Magic is continuing to evolve, and it's creating new opportunities for us to play new games in it.
Yeah, 2 things on that are interesting to me. First of all, you're absolutely right. We came out with Dominaria, we launched Brawl, and we're like, okay, this worked with the Legend heavy set, but once this rotates out, we're going to need more to Legends. And so someone in R&D named Yanni Skolnick actually made up a little bracket, started working on about how many Legends we would need and making sure that all of our color combinations were hit. And that's why we did things, for example, like the Buy a Box promo in M20 was a 3-color card, so that you could have a 3-color legendary creature and you'd have a Naya card in Standard. So we do work, you're absolutely right, we work hard to make sure that's possible, and putting more in the sets helps out with that. Additionally, what we learned from Dominaria is just that it's sweet to have legendary cards running around. Like, as you said, when you're playing a game of Limited and Daxos dies, it just feels so much more epic than when some soldier dies. Right? Like, no, Daxos, I cared about you. Don't leave me. So it's kind of just awesome for everybody. You know?
Cool.
So you'll see more of that throughout the year.
Yeah. Chris, producer, was there any other questions that we should touch on? I wasn't following chat very well.
With Theros being the plane of enchantments and having done it twice now, what's the process for making a limited format work around a card type that's historically hard to play in limited?
That's a great question. So Espeon Sun asks about Theros being about enchantments and how to make it word limited, it is really tough because enchantments can lead, as I mentioned earlier with original Theros, this kind of snowball gameplay, right? Of you play your guy, you put a bunch of enchantments on it, and then you're attacking, and it's like I either have the removal spell and I crush you, or I don't have the removal spell and I die. And when we were working on original Theros, we had to kind of make all the removal weak because removal was so much stronger with all these enchantments running around.
Yeah.
This time around, we were able to mitigate it in a couple other ways. One is that I think the escape mechanic just helps out because it means that even if you build up your thing and it dies, you'll often have ammo then from whenever it died to bring stuff back out of the graveyard. We also explored some new tools. For example, giving black the ability to deal with enchantments a little bit. That's new for Magic. That's pretty strange. We've never really done that before. But it helps even out one of black's weaknesses, which is it couldn't deal with this fundamental card type. So it took a lot of work to get there, but I feel like this format has a little bit more back and forth interplay than just snowball, do you have the answer or not?
Nice.
Yeah.
So final couple questions. Favorite card from the set?
Favorite card from this set. I mean, I mentioned Thassa, which I love, but I think my favorite card from the set is, and I apologize, I'm so bad with the final card names because I know them all as the playtest card names, but it's the 3 black-red sorcery where you reveal the top 7 cards of your deck, and then your opponent casts one, and you get the rest of them. What is that card called?
I can picture the art. I just can't.
Yeah, it's got this great Seb McKinnon art on it. I'm sure someone in the chat will tell us. Is it Allure of the Unknown? That might be it.
Oh, that does sound right. Yep.
Yeah, Allure of the Unknown. It's this Pandora's Box style card. Was our kind of theme with that, right? Of like, you're opening Pandora's Box, you get all these things, but your opponent gets one of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, something about that card, I just read it, and I just thought it was super cool. Ice Marker in the chat points out it's 6 cards. It used to be 7, so that shows you how well I know the final versions of these cards. But it's a really charming card.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Atris and how wonderful it is for those card where you give your opponent a bunch of options. Where it's like, oh, here's 7 cards, you get to cast 1, but I get the rest. Or, hey, look at the top X cards, and you're going to create a face down and a face up. To really put the pressure on them, like they need to not only know where they're at, but try to guess where you're at in the game and what's valuable and what's not, and then give you that hard choice. And sometimes it's like, oh, that's a really tough choice. And other times you're just like, snap, this is my pile. And you just get to see your opponent go, oh, no, I thought that was going to be a lot harder than that.
I'm a huge fan of mini games, and we have to be careful to not do them too often because if you're constantly playing a bunch of mini games inside of your already complex game of Magic, it drags things down and so on. But a little bit is really fun, especially once you're advanced. So, for example, one of my favorite cards of all time is Fact or Fiction. I love that card because it creates this little mini game of, okay, here are 5 cards, you split them right, and that can make or break the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Like, try and split them the best you can. And so I love doing little things like that where possible, and it's a little touch I like to put on things in sets. I think it just makes it extra fun.
Very nice. We're gonna play a little game here.
Okay.
We won't play a lot of it because I have a feeling neither one of us are gonna play very well.
I do like games.
This is a fun game. It's a mini game.
Okay.
This game is called. That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right. How this game works is I have a list of trivia right here. I gotta take a little break here. We've got a monitor. I gotta turn it away so that way chat can play as well.
Okay.
And how this works, I'll be honest. I am going to be asking some trivia questions, and those trivia questions are not Magic related at all.
Perfect.
However, the answer to that trivia question is a misspelling of a card from Theros Beyond Death.
And this is especially challenging for me because, as I demonstrated just moments ago, the final card names from cards in Theros Beyond Death is not my specialty. I know the playtest card names, the final ones, not as much. So this will be especially exciting, I gotta say.
So Gavin came and joined us for a local game show, our game trivia show that we put on a couple times here. And he just destroyed last time. I don't think there was a single trivia question you got wrong.
There was one, and it haunted me. So it was about the chain veil, where it came from, and I waffle on my answer. And anyway, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Won't get into it, but I love Magic trivia.
So we're gonna ask these questions. Gavin will have to figure out the answer to that question, and then figure out which card from Theros Beyond Death that we are misspelling there. So, for instance, the first of these containers was created in 1903 by Ron Holdberger and Albert Eschenbrenner, and won the grand prize award at the 1909 Seattle World's Expo. This container's slogan is, Hot matters, cold matters, it matters.
I believe the answer to this one is Theros Beyond Death.
Correct.
Perfect.
So the answer to the trivia was thermos, and then the misspelling is obviously Thermos Beyond Death.
A very different set, by the way. I gotta say, that's a very water-based set. It's a little bit of coffee thrown
A
in
little
there.
bit of vacuum. Maybe that's where the Nick zone is in between. That's how they keep the liquids hot and cold.
Oh,
is the Nick
yeah.
zone.
That makes total sense.
Somewhere between there.
Yeah.
And we may or may not have given him that question ahead of time so that we could better explain this game.
Yeah, if that sounded like I understood it to you,
Yeah.
it's because I read it in an email.
So, chat, you're welcome to play along as well. I'll be kind of keeping an eye on the chat to see if y'all are getting closer than Gavin does, and we can give some hints back and forth. So, this next question. This #1 Mattel card game was developed in 1971 and is known for the exclamation of its title as a round nears its end.
Well, first of all, I only talk about Hasbro products here.
Oh.
So, no. Let's see. I'm going to guess is it Uno?
That sounds correct.
Uro? Is it?
So the answer is
Uno, Titan of whatever the Titan he's a Titan of?
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
Ding! All right. Correct. Also, chat is just screaming out Uno and Uro right now. So it's,
Yeah. Okay, I got one. I feel so proud of
All
myself.
right. So one on the board.
Okay.
There are no prizes, so we're just going to keep that on the board.
Perfect.
This blue monster Muppet, that is actually a species, by the way, according to Wikipedia, is monster Muppet. So this blue monster Muppet from Sesame Street was originally introduced as Gleep, and children's near and far quickly fell in love with this pink-nosed hairy Muppet.
Pink-nosed hairy Muppet, but
Pink-nosed, blue, hairy monster Muppet on Sesame Street.
This is gonna show my age because I can visualize the Muppet in my head.
Okay.
He's kind of like scraggly looking,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With like a
long
big
arms,
nose,
like me but blue hair.
which is great. I can visualize it. I have no idea what the Muppet's name is. So I'm like, I definitely watched
So
it.
chat's
on
got the
on
name.
show.
Chat's got the name of the Muppet.
Okay.
They haven't gotten to the card name yet, so we'll share that. Grover is the
Grover.
name of Grover.
There we go.
Near and far, he likes to run around and scream at
That
people.
makes sense. That makes
so,
sense.
So the now we're looking for a card title that's misspelled that will have Grover in its title.
Ooh. And it's from Theros Beyond Death.
And it's from Theros Beyond Death.
So Grover of the Burn Willows does not count here.
Chat has now got it. Congratulations, Claw Carver. You got there.
Is it? Oh, is it? That doesn't sound right. It's Dryad of the Lycian Grover.
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right. Ding!
Oh,
That's
perfect.
correct. Yeah, Dryad of the Elysian Grover.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Okay, this landform alongside a body of water consists of loose particles and is a favorite hangout of pirates and swimsuit models.
This landform next to a body of water is pirates. Is it Caribbean?
So a landform that consists of loose particles between water and land.
Loose particles. Oh, an isle? No.
They got it.
Chat got it.
All right, chat's
Congratulations, Yoda Eternal. It is a beach.
Oh, a beach. Yes.
Pirates,
That-
swimsuit models.
that makes sense.
And the card we're looking for, Underworld Beach.
Oh, of course. That sounds like it still doesn't sound great to hang out in.
Yeah.
But, better
you
than
think
a
that
breach,
an
I
Underworld
suppose.
Beach would be lively, but it's not. It's dead.
You talk to like the ferryman about those waters, you touch them, you lose all your memory. It's like a real dangerous game you're
Yeah,
playing
they're
with the
tossing
beach.
coins at you all the time, right in your eyes. It's no good.
Yeah.
All right, next one up, and I apologize in advance. These are terrible puns.
I love-
terrible game, but
Perfect.
we're already halfway in. We're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Lacking this leafy annual plant, most salads would be largely lackluster.
Okay. Might be romaine and
So more generally,
lettuce.
okay, all right, that sounds right.
What doesn't sound right though? That is the question. Some kind of lattice? I know this isn't it. I want to say mycosynth but I know that's not the answer.
Yeah. I mean, lettuce is almost like a type of flower.
Yeah,
It looks pretty.
Um.
I'd probably want to go to a zone.
Got it. Claw Carver.
Claw Carver again. really good at terrible games.
All right. What was the answer?
The answer was Nyx Lettuce.
Oh,
Lotus.
Yeah,
Nyx
perfect.
Lettuce.
Should have thought of Lotus. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of smart.
Yeah, that one was a little bit more. Lattice was my first thought too when I wrote this, and I was like, "That's not why. I know the answer. What am I doing here?"
If you make a salad out of lotuses, you are doing pretty well. I just gotta say, if that's
you've got
the case,
plenty of greens. Let me just say, if
yeah.
you're doing it.
You're
All right, two more. Oh, I've saved the best for last.
Oh, perfect.
I actually had the cards to put up on stream, but we forgot, so we're going to ignore that part. When no one is around you, say the name of this 1990s American girl group who introduced us all to Beyonce.
Is it Destiny's Child?
That sounds right.
So, Clothis, God of Destiny's Child?
I'll give you half a point for that. Not what we're looking for.
Okay. All right.
There's a lot of destiny in this set.
There is. There's so much that... I don't know what the answer is, but I really want to watch Clothis of Destiny's Child now.
I want to see Clothis in Destiny's Child.
Yeah, I would totally do this.
Jodo Turtle got it. The correct answer was Calyx, Destiny's Child.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah, that's a tough one. All right, and the final one before we retire this game and burn it out back. This block stacking game was first released in 1984. Today, you can play it with your comrades on basically every console or computer ever created.
Oh, yes. Tetris.
That sounds right.
And, what's that impossible to pronounce blue uncommon or common? Ica Tetris phobia or something?
That's sounding too correct.
Icatetramorphous? I don't know.
Joda, you got it again.
What? All right.
Final answer.
Yeah, I got it.
Tetris, Oracle of Half Truths.
Oh, of
Atris.
course. Well,
Yeah.
It was good effort. I was very bad as predicted. I got a couple, and I feel very proud of them.
You should. Yeah, I wrote them all, and I don't feel proud at all. So.
All right, let's play this game for cards released 12 years ago, and then we'll see how well I do.
Next time you come on LGS, maybe we'll bring this back.
Oh, the local game show was so much fun. I would happily come and do that again.
So the two cards that we're not going to do these is Calligraphy, Beloved by the Sea, as opposed to Caliphy, and Entrancing Liar.
Oh, Entrancing Liar.
Which
yeah.
a liar is also another word, so that was an easy one for me.
Yeah, that one maybe would have got to.
Yeah.